When is the first time that you had heard about the Sean Manaea, Roman Reigns, put your ones up for the tribal chief?
I mean, it had been last year. Definitely wasn't in like San Diego or San Francisco. So,
are you all in on it? Because I've seen some people now that are like, Sean needs to have the Roman Reigns intro song as his warm up. Are you there?
I know my nephews, shout out Logan and Noah, wherever you're at. They would be super ecstatic because we'll play video games sometimes and they constantly ask me.
So here's the thing: you could like for one game or two games change. I know like
there's a WWE night coming up. That's
there
the
is.
perfect.
Welcome to Meet at the Apple, presented by PC Richard & Son. I'm Vito Calisi. That's Jonathan Barron. A quick reminder, please go to Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Leave us that 5-star review. You guys have been doing such a good job going there, leaving those reviews. If you haven't done it so far, it really helps us. It helps the podcast grow. We're asking you for your support here. And also, really cool thing at the end of this episode today, we're going to be playing an interview with Sean Manaea, recorded at spring training, but just as topical as ever. Stick around for that Sean Manaea interview. But John, we're heading into the All-Star break. Unfortunately, the Mets get walked off, but a positive 2 days, game 1 and game 2, where the Mets are starting to come alive in different ways.
Yeah, Vito. Good to chat with you as always, and thanks for hanging out with us to everyone out there. Yeah, I mean, the Mets go into the All-Star break, half game out of first place in the NL East, like you mentioned. I guess that's a bit disappointing, but I think it's clear that this is a true back-and-forth situation between the Mets and the Philadelphia Phillies. We know the Phillies are coming to Citi Field that last week of August. That's going to be a huge 3-game series at Citi Field. But the Mets go to Kansas City, a bit of a weird place to go. Big stadium, as many people saw. Huge outfield. Juan Soto made it look small. No problem at all for Juan Soto. But the Mets take care of business. They go into the break with a series victory. Of course, you don't want to get walked off going into the break, but I don't really think it matters the way the Mets took 2 out of 3 from the Royals, exploding in the 8th and 9th innings on Friday night. I know there was a lot of discourse on Twitter with fans and some other people as well. And then Saturday, Juan Soto hitting a real signature home run. When you put one, Vito, over the fountain in Kansas City, that is big power. It's what Juan Soto did, and that's why Juan Soto is an all-star snub, Vito.
Oh, dude, it's absolutely ridiculous, especially when you get into looking at the numbers and like, look, I'm not going to be like another certain team in the NL East throwing out crazy, cursing, slurring, saying all these wild things about people who get into the All-Star game, but it is absolutely ridiculous Juan Soto's not in, and as hopped up and angry as all those Phillies players are about their guys not getting in and somebody else getting in, it's also ridiculous that Kodai Senga's not in when you think about it.
It is. And Kodai made his return on Friday, 4 innings, no runs allowed. I think that it's pretty clear how important Kodai Senga is to the New York Mets, anchoring the rotation. When you have Kodai and David Peterson 1 and 2, and then, of course, you got Sean Manaea, who came back, who was also used in the limited role he was used, piggybacking off Clay Holmes, striking out 7 guys. This Mets rotation, all of a sudden, has become incredibly deep. And we know that the Mets obviously were throwing bullpen games out of necessity because of injuries. Now, you've got a very, very deep rotation that I think, Vito, is one of the deepest in the National League. You look at the teams in the NL, right? The Dodgers, they've got their issues. They were just on a big losing streak. The Phillies and the Mets, like I mentioned, are going toe-to-toe, trying to win this division, which is going to be a dog fight going down to the very end. The Chicago Cubs, they've had their issues as well. So the Mets, with the health of the rotation, obviously everyone wants to stay healthy. Frankie Montas back, Kodai Senga back, Sean Manaea back. They can limit innings. We got a couple of guys down in AAA who we know a lot of fans are paying close attention to, and Brandon Sproat, Nolan McLean. The Mets are in a very pitching-rich situation, and it feels like that changed overnight, but that's a great benefit to have because there's a lot of teams in the NL and baseball overall that are looking for pitching always, and the Mets, they are rich with pitching options, Vito.
You know, John, it's a heartbreaker to lose the game going into the All-Star break, but Meek Phil tweeted this. Do you know the last time the Mets won the final game going into the All-Star break?
I'm gonna do my thing where I just go down memory lane. I know that 2021, the Mets did not win going into the All-Star break.
That
2022,
was
they lost to
Pittsburgh,
the
right?
Marlins. That was Pittsburgh. 22, they lost to the Marlins at home. 23, they were in San Diego. Last year, they were. Was it the Reds they were at home against last year? No, it was the
Last
Rockies. It was the Rockies. Last
Yes.
year, they lost to the Rockies at home.
I watched that game from the Delta Lounge going to Greece for my honeymoon.
Yeah, you were going away. I was going away as well. 2020, no All-Star break. 2019. I feel like it's been a while. Do you have the answer?
2015.
That's that's just again, we always talk about this when we do this show, that the Mets, it seems, they often lose the last game before a series ends. And even if they take 2 of 3, that last game is kind of the bitter taste in your mouth, right? But you know, that's just kind of a bad send off, I guess. And we all wanted the Mets to win this game, of course, but lots of positives to take away from the finale in Kansas City. Obviously, the Mets winning the first 2 games is a plus. The way they did it, Soto hitting the 2 home runs, the Mets coming back, Mark Vientos having his big moment, doubling with the bases loaded, driving in tons of runs against Carlos Estévez, who obviously has had some bad luck against the Mets with the bases loaded in the last couple of years. I know a lot of Mets fans were talking about that. And for Mark Vientos to have that moment, I can't imagine how much of a weight that was off of Mark's back. Mark's a great hitter, right? We know Mark's a great hitter. He hit 27 home runs last year because he is a great big league hitter. And he hit 5 home runs in the postseason. He set the Mets playoff record for single postseason RBI. And for him to have that moment, what more can you say, right? Like we all root for Mark. We all root for all the players. But everyone needs to understand that Mark Vientos is going up there. He's struggling. We know that. We all know the struggles he's gone through. He is a great ball player. And you don't hit 27 home runs by accident. So I know a lot of people took back some things that they said. You know, I'm a big Mark Vientos fan. Vito and I always talk off the show about how great a player Mark Vientos is. And we don't worry about Mark Vientos because he has the light tower power that you cannot teach. And that was on display there, spraying the gap, driving in the go-ahead run. And of course, Francisco Lindor hits the big 3-run home run to give the Mets a decisive lead. And then SNY's cameras weren't even ready for Juan Soto's home run. They were still in replay. The only footage we have is the replay, White Vito.
Yeah, I know. Amanda, so one of our editors, Amanda, was me and her were texting throughout the game. And during a game, she's collecting moments to put into like rallies, put into edits. And she texted me and said, "Oh my God, they missed the home run. I don't have it now." I think she might be able to get it. Like she could get it from the opposing broadcast or get it from MLB. But like, yeah, it's hilarious when that happens. It always takes me back to the one I remember the most, which was that comeback in Philly when Brandon Nimmo. Was it Philly or St. Louis? Because I remember it was one of those games where Brandon Nimmo hit the home run coming back from commercial break, and you didn't even. And that was the one that took. Like they tied it, and then that was the one that took the lead, and you didn't even see it happen. But I think it's a good time to quickly run through our top 5 moments of Mets in Kansas City, presented by PC Richard and Son. Number 5, making his first appearance on the top 5. Big shout out to big boy Harrison Friedland, the challenge god, going 2 for 2 on wild calls, tags at second base. Twitter's a buzz. I texted Harrison and I said, "You had to be a little surprised that you got that one." And then I said, "What's it feel like? Like you're in that room. Could you hear the rain of boos that you were getting? A rain of boos for just being a lead at your job. What does that feel like?" And he said, "It took me back to the NLDS when we were standing in Philly and we got booed as my name got read."
Yeah, no, Harrison, first of all, a lot of people, it's like the Wizard of Oz kind of, right? The wizard behind the curtain. But you mentioned him, Harrison Friedland is an absolute wizard. He is great at what he does in the Mets video room in many ways, not just whether we're going to challenge a play or not, but Harrison does an incredible job. And the Mets trust Harrison. The That's a very, very in the moment bang bang type deal that a lot of pressure is put on Harrison, the video team. The Mets have the best video team in all of baseball. And, this weekend, the two successful challenges are a microcosm of what Harrison and the staff do. So shout out Harrison, shout out everybody. But I appreciate you shouting out Harrison because, first of all, Harrison's our guy, right? He's my guy. Central Jersey guy, East Brunswick, stand up. Love Harrison.
Mets fan.
Mets fan. Like, it doesn't get more genuine than Harrison Friedland. And I know the SNY broadcast has highlighted him, but an incredible job he does all the time, but especially this weekend in Kansas City. So that's number 5. The number 4 moment of Mets and Royals this weekend, Juan Soto hitting a absolute bomb, like I mentioned, over the fountain. That is, I'm not surprised, right? This is Juan Soto we're talking about, but he knew it. He admired it. What's not to admire? Juan Soto hitting another home run, going into the break strong. Mets fans early in the season, the concerns were nonsense, right? We know that it was talked about that he was constantly hitting the ball hard, but some bad luck happened. The bad luck's gone. And I think that home run is the epitome of the bad luck being gone. He just sat there and admired another moonshot, 23 first half home runs by Juan Soto. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Guys on our team, and it's awesome.
John, funny thing about that home run, had a nice day with my wife, my daughter, and my mom. Went to brunch, got back, was exhausted, but I rushed us back to get home for the Mets game. Turn it on. 5 minutes into the game, I pass out. And I'm not kidding. I'm not exaggerating. The crack of Juan Soto's bat, literally. I woke up from that, looked at the screen, saw the Mets go up 2-0 and was like, oh, damn. I was like, what a great way to wake up from a midday nap. But let's move on to number 3. Sean Manaea makes his return to the Mets for the mound for the first time in 2025. And we have an interview with Sean Manaea that's going to play at the end of this episode that we recorded at spring training. We did record it about a day or two before Sean went down for the beginning of the year. Again, like the Ronnie interview, might have been recorded at spring training, but it's actually super evergreen, really just talking a lot about his offseason, what he was looking to in the season, and just some personal stuff with Sean, his wedding. Really, really fun interview. But Sean Manaea comes back, 3 1/3 innings pitched, only gives up a run. Unfortunately, it's the run, but that doesn't matter. That's just the details. 7 strikeouts in those 3 innings. You can't ask for much more than that. Sean looked absolutely filthy, was just dominating. And, it's pretty cool to be able to have a game where you see 2 starting pitchers go out there and just befuddle guys.
Yeah, I think that obviously Sean's emergence back in the rotation is massive for this New York Mets team. This rotation, like we talked about, how it's suddenly a very whole rotation. You didn't have Kodai Senga, you didn't have Frankie Montas, you didn't have Sean Manaea 2-3 weeks ago. Now you have all 3 of those guys to go along with who was already in the rotation: David Peterson, Clay Holmes, and obviously, the trade deadline coming right above or right upon us. So you never know which direction the Mets go in. But for Sean Manaea, the fastball was a weapon. We saw the fastball be a huge weapon, especially late July moving forward last year, where he started to really pound the top of the strike zone, get a lot of swings and misses with that high fastball. He had 10 whiffs on 22 swings against the fastball. We know the sweeper is a huge weapon for Sean Manaea. So his return is so impeccably huge for this Mets rotation. It's safe to assume, I think, the Mets use Sean Manaea and Clay Holmes on separate start days moving forward. But we've really seen the Mets get very creative in how they handle innings. And I'm curious to see if the Mets do choose to, perhaps if they did call up a guy like a Nolan McLean, like a Brandon Sproat, who the Mets are also trying to contain their innings as well. If they use a similar situation, a similar outlook on how they use Sunday, it was a very, very creative way to, Clay Holmes obviously is approaching his career high for innings pitched. If the Mets go about it in that way, and it's a really, really fascinating thing for the Mets to do because, Vito, they're getting different looks. They're showing teams different looks. They're obviously limiting the innings pitched that we're seeing for guys. And they've, of course, got very effective arms going. So this is something we might see more from the Mets. And I know I mentioned this to you a couple nights ago. I remember the DeGrom Scherzer start in spring training, and it could be a formula here moving forward. I like this formula, Vito. I really do.
I like it a lot too. And like you said, there's other factors coming back. Tyler McGill will probably return to the rotation at some point in the year. Like you said, there's tangibles in the minors that can be that assets. And then you can see different mixed matches that really make this team. I mean, actually, we talked about this last year off camera, like not on the show, just conversationally, saying a really interesting piggyback they could have done in the playoffs even would have been Senga start and Quintana follows him up because they're just so different. But yeah, the Mets have a lot of options here. We'll see things as they go on, but why don't we move on? Number 2 moment, Edwin Diaz's 2-inning save in game 2 to lock it down. We've seen Mendy do this before. It's using Edwin in the 8th inning when it calls for getting the heart of whatever rotation, whatever lineup the team is going up against. Edwin comes in, goes up against Bobby Witt, goes up against Jonathan India, gets the outs, and then you're going into All-Star break. So there's a lot of talk like, oh, is Edwin going to come out for a second inning? And like the broadcasters were like, oh, are they going to push him here? And in my opinion, it was like, I mean, he's going to be off for a week in a few days. So like, why not just give it all you got in this last day before we go out?
Yeah, Edwin Diaz, I mean, what more can you say about the first half? Edwin Diaz had an all-star for a good reason. Every time Mendy has called on him to go 2 innings, he has been there. Edwin Diaz he's a Mets legend. You know, he really is an incredible guy. We love Edwin Diaz. He is as nice a guy as they come, and he has just been everything and more. When I chatted with him, he really talked about how, you know, last year was kind of a refining his ground, and this year he's just dominating. And we know that in April he went on the IL for a bit. He's come back. He has been nothing short of the guy that we saw in 2022. Narco it's the best entrance in all of baseball, and he backs it up every single time he goes out there. So that's the number 2 moment.
Wait, real quick.
Moment,
only 1 run since he found out his legs were the wrong lengths.
Yeah, I've been looking at my legs. They're probably equal. But anyway, the number 1 moment, Mets and Royals this weekend, heading into the All-Star break, of course, Mark Vientos, his huge double against Carlos Estévez. The Mets love when Carlos Estévez is on the mound with the bases loaded. And Mark Vientos, we know it was such a big moment. Fans, Mark, everyone, a big breath of relief. We are all rooting for Mark Vientos, and for him to come through in that spot, Mets could not lose that game. We all felt that way. Everyone stayed up late, a 9:30 Eastern time start. Fireworks going off in the 7th inning there at Kauffman Stadium.
I've been waiting to talk to you about that.
Yeah, I got nothing to say about that. All sorts of chaos in Kansas City. And for Mark, especially to spray the gap, right? We know Mark's power stroke is to right center field. He got a high cutter / slider, whatever it was, from Estévez, and he went the other way, deposited it between the center fielder and the right fielder, got the job done. What a moment for Mark Vientos, and I know many Mets fans were very happy to celebrate that moment. Our owner, Steve Cohen, also happy about that moment. It was just a great, great way to end a Friday night. The Mets coming up with a big victory. Mark Vientos, the guy, the king, the guy that came through with a big hit.
Yeah, and you know what? It was so powerful because in inning earlier, he breaks his bat in half and out of frustration in a similar situation, bases loaded, trying to have a moment, strikes out frustrated, literally slams the bat down, breaks the bat off the handle. Then Pete Alonso comes up right before him. Frustrating strikeout. Does the Pete break the bat over the knee? Mark Vientos comes up after then, has that moment where he powers through. And I think a lot of people, because I think the Mets are going to go on a tear now. I think out of the break, the Mets are going on an absolute tear. And I think people are going to point back to those bat breaks. But I tweeted this. I think the moment we should actually be looking at is Mr. Met falling off the stage at the Lumineers concert. That's the moment the season changed.
So I can say that I got to speak to Mr. Met.
Okay. Interesting. How?
All, Mr. Met and I we're close.
No, but he doesn't speak. I'm hoping he was writing this down or texting.
This was all via writing.
Good.
But I communicated, I should say, with Mr. Met. He is good. Number one, he is okay, and he's in good spirits.
Yeah, he's doing
The
bits with
Lumineers.
Blooper right now.
So I'm in Boston right now. That's why I have the Mets, the Meet the Apple background. The Lumineers are coming to Boston, and I did come across Wally, and I said, "Hey, Wally, make sure you're okay. Be careful. It's a bit of a thin stage." The thing is about Mr. Met, they say the stage was not big enough for Mr. Met. Mr. Met needs the biggest of stages,
Dude,
and I think
nimble. You got to give him credit. He recovered better than I would. I'd be dead. I'd probably be dead right now.
my back hurts just thinking about that fall.
Like, dude, my ankle would have probably shattered. I would have been in a cast if that happened to me.
Well, yeah, probably. I mean, me too. Tough fall, but Mr. Met, legend, and he's okay. So
He's
he'll
having
be all
fun
right.
with it too. He's doing bits already. He posted about it. But I have to ask you, did you get to tell Wally that he's like a beloved icon and he has the best Sports Center commercial of all time?
Wally, it's not what you think.
Wally, it's not what you think.
And then they have Tessie. I didn't even realize about Tessie. I
Yeah,
had no
Tessie.
idea.
Dude,
I
every
did
team
not
has a
know.
few mascots now. That's the big thing, man. You know what my favorite backup mascot is. It's over in Tampa. But John, dude, I got it. The fireworks, man. You were the first person I thought of when those fireworks went off. What would you do? Like? I was just thinking, what would John do if this happened?
There's got to be
Like
an ordinance.
for context for everybody, John is one of the main people behind Fireworks Fridays at Citi Field. John is on the phone with the fireworks company, planning it in the off season. He's finding the music during the season to plan out the night. He's literally in the batter's eye, coordinating the fireworks on those nights. I've watched them. I've watched the fireworks from the batter's eye with John. So John is the guy when it comes to fireworks at Citi Field. So that's why I asked John, what the hell would you do if at Citi Field the fireworks went off at the 7th inning?
There's got to be an ordinance in Kansas City. So first of all, every city has different rules, laws. So I'm guessing, I don't know, and I could ask because I'm here at a conference in Boston with all teams in baseball. So I actually probably will find out or ask to find out if it is there's a certain time you have to set the fireworks off by. We know in Brooklyn that there's fireworks oftentimes, a very, very magnificent scene behind right field. My biggest fear is the fireworks show going off the top of the roof during the game, right? Like that's the biggest nightmare. So every stadium is different. Every city is different.
Like, what would you
Every
do if that
fire
happened to
department
you?
Wouldn't be good, Vito.
Like,
Wouldn't
tell
be
me the
good.
first thing you do. Like, it's the 7th inning. All of a sudden, you hear something and you go, wait, because I've seen you get nervous about I've seen you in years get nervous when like the home run fireworks go off when you're like slightly nervous of like, wait, was that actually a home run or not? What would you do if 7th inning, all of a sudden you just hear pop, 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 and you look up and you see them going off? First thing you do.
Probably say a curse word or two and ask someone what the heck is going on. But I mean, it's like, straight out of a movie, I think, with the fireworks going off. At Citi Field, we do not want the roof to be activated before the game ends. So that's, we haven't had that yet. So let's knock on wood and hope that remains the same.
We got a chance the first day out of All-Star break, don't we?
We do. Yep. July 18th, there's fireworks. So hopefully it waits till the game's over. But a fun scene in Kansas City for sure when it comes to fireworks.
All right. Before we get out of here, why don't we quickly talk about just some overarching storylines from the first season, just some things to take note of. And one of the things that I really think Mets fans should be more loud about, be more vocal about, is the year Brandon Nimmo is having. Since June 1st, Brandon Nimmo's batting pretty close to 300 right now, driving in a whole ton of runs. He's got 24 RBI right now, just absolutely crushing the ball all season. And if you think back to early in the year when we interviewed Brandon and we spoke to him about hard hit numbers, barrel contact numbers, just everything he was doing right, and the ball just wasn't finding grass. Think if the ball was actually finding grass back then, how good he'd even be doing, but you can't play that game. Brandon Nimmo is just so important to this team, and hearing Francisco Lindor speak to that and talk about how important it is for him to see Brandon Nimmo go up before him and take 6-7 pitches and really get to understand what he's going up against. Brandon Nimmo has been on this team for so long that sometimes I feel like he really becomes like the unsung hero of the team in many ways. And some people forget how important Brandon is to the team. And just like this first half, man, like he had a great first half last year. He was snubbed. He was our snub last year, but I just want to give him some credit for just a really stellar first half. And right now, 11 game on base streak, and I'd like to see it continue when we come out the break.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the 2 grand slams in a matter of 4 games. The one he hit against Jacob Mizorowski was, one of the turning points, I think, of the season. We're going to look back and talk about that grand slam, giving the Mets that victory against Mizorowski, who everyone obviously was really wary of. And, Mizorowski did well. We've talked about this, the pitching matchup being what it was. The Mets win that game. Then he hits a grand slam against Carlos Rodon, a tough lefty, left matchup. He gets it done. Brandon Nimmo has transformed himself into a damage doer. Earlier in his career, he was more of a get-on-base guy, set the table. He is now doing the damage that we've seen. He has really, really become a difference maker for this Mets lineup. And like you said, we talked about in preseason, he's going to break his previous career high for home runs, and he could hit 30. And he could be a fourth Met that hits 30 home runs this year. He's a great ball player, and it's really cool to see him transform and grow into the player that he has become before our very eyes.
Do you think he should have done the home run derby this year with Pete not doing it? That would have been fun. Brandon Nimmo on the home run derby would have been a good time.
I guess, but.
And also, you bring up Miz and Rodon, 2 All-Stars in a 4-day period.
Yeah, no, I mean, Brandon Nimmo's hit a lot of home runs against a lot of good pitchers, but he's a tough out. And, he is a very thoughtful hitter. He's one of the guys in baseball who I think when they did the survey, who's the last guy you want to face in the 7th inning or game 7, I think Juan Soto was the winner. And Brandon Nimmo got votes because of how in control he is at the plate. And that makes sense. He's a guy who we know can get on base. Like I said, 400 OBP guy. Before he became more aggressive now, he's just a bigger power hitter, more aggressive in counts. But you want to see that from a guy, especially Brandon Nimmo, who could do both. He can do it both ways. He can give you a tough at-bat, but he could also jump you and hit a ball 430 feet, especially with the bases loaded, like we've seen recently.
And a girl dad, which is,
and a girl dad.
That's our thing. That's the Mets thing.
Shout out Tate.
And then, so let's talk a little bit of Edwin Diaz. We talked mostly about him before, so not too much to jump into here, but like Edwin Diaz having another historic year as a Mets closer, which after 2022, you think, how do you follow this up? The year Edwin's having right now is just as good. I mean, Edwin Diaz is completely dominant when he comes into a game. And, today, that game goes into extra innings going into the All-Star break. Even though he pitched 2 yesterday, I think Edwin might have been viable to come back out there for another one today. When Edwin is in that runner on second extra inning situation, it feels like a cheat code because you know that Edwin's likely going to lead with a strikeout and you're not going to have to worry about the sac fly into the end of the game. So it's just really been fun to watch Edwin Diaz this year, just be at full force all year.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. That's part of the reason the Mets have been so good in extra inning games going back to 2022 since the runner on second rule was put into play, because Edwin Diaz is a difference maker because of the swing and miss that he gets. And you said it. He is an absolute monster. He's a great equalizer with the swing and miss rate that he gets. And what a first half for Edwin Diaz. Looking forward to just the dominance. It's special to watch. And like I said about Juan Soto, guys on our team, it's awesome. Mets fans are lucky to be able to watch Juan Soto and Edwin Diaz every day.
And Juan Soto you bring up, and it's interesting because for all the smack, all the stuff people were talking early in the year about Juan Soto doesn't like it here, Juan Soto doesn't like it here, we're now seeing Juan Soto's numbers start to become some of the best numbers he's had in general. Juan Soto's hit more home runs before the All-Star break with the Mets than he's hit with any team beforehand. More than the Nats, more than the Yankees, more than the Padres. Juan Soto also, that 2-run home run to put the Mets up, win the game. We're just seeing a Juan Soto that you actually do see Juan Soto loving life in the dugout. You see Juan Soto and Pete. When Juan Soto and Pete get to celebrate at home plate, absolutely electric. Juan Soto running out, being a part of the new kick celebration, which we haven't even talked about yet, that the Mets have a new celebration. That's when we know that's going to be the turning point, because when the Mets get a gimmick, that's when they go on a run. But Juan Soto, beloved Met, we're going to see David Wright's number go up next week. There's a few guys on this team where me and John, I think we've said this before, there's a few guys on this team that's numbers are going to be up in those rafters, and Juan is likely one of them.
Yeah, he is. When he steps up to the plate, he is in full control of every single at bat. You just can't get him out. He is a different type of baseball player than anyone we've seen that's worn the blue and orange, like you said, between Juan, Pete, Francisco Lindor, Brandon Nimmo, obviously the Fab Four, who Steve Cohen alluded to. You throw in Jeff McNeil. This is a very special Mets team. These are the golden days, right? These are the days we're going to once look back on and say, wow, this was an incredible time. And, it's all predicated on some of the guys that I talked about, that you've talked about, that we've talked about. Juan Soto, he's a Met. It's awesome. It's great.
And the young core that's become so important to this team, really seeing it coming together. Ron and Mauricio, like we said last week, becoming a stable part of this team. The defense at third base is just something that's incredible to watch. It seems like the ball is just magnetically attracted to him sometimes. Then Brett Beatty, having him at second, who's getting better every day at the position. Also, just in this first half, the latter part of this first half has looked so good. It's been fun to watch this form, but there's one guy missing, and he's been in the minor leagues. And since that demotion, Francisco Alvarez has been on a tear. Francisco Alvarez wants to join the major league team. He wants to come back to Citi Field, and the way he's proving that is by hitting home runs. 8 home runs since going down, John.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Mets wanted Francisco Alvarez to work on some things, and we'll see if and when he comes back up, whether it's after the All-Star break or shortly thereafter. But, let's not forget this guy was, 22 years old, hitting 25 home runs in the major leagues, doing things that only Johnny Bench had done before. We know Francisco Alvarez is an incredibly talented player. And for the Mets, that's a huge benefit to have that guy down there in the organization. We know he can make a huge impact. And, we all have things to work on, right? Whether we're hosting a podcast or catching.
Powerful, man.
Yeah, whether we're working with the Mets starting staff and bullpen and taking 4 at-bats a game, or talking into a microphone, or just being human beings, everyone's got something to work on. We know Francisco Alvarez is incredibly, incredibly gifted, incredibly talented, and we know he's going to make an impact for this Mets team. And it's really exciting to think about the kind of impact he can make moving forward for the Mets.
And today, 2 doubles and a home run off one of baseball's brightest prospects, Andrew Painter. And I bring that up specifically just to say, look, you're not seeing major league pitching down there, but there's days where you're seeing guys who are going to be dudes one day. Andrew Painter is one of those guys. So Francisco Alvarez having a good showing against a guy like that, it's a really good sign. And like John said, we don't know when Francisco Alvarez, when and if he's going to come back to the major league roster at some point this season, but it's long as he keeps doing the right thing, as long as he keeps fighting for that spot like he's doing right now, talent is undeniable. And I bring up Andrew Painter, guys like that, facing real tough competition. A guy we have seen face tough competition at the minor leagues, who now went to his first futures game, is Jonah Tong. And Jonah Tong on the grand stage on primetime television, on primetime network television. I mean, primetime is Saturday afternoon, right? Jonah Tong, 1 inning pitch, gets a strikeout, looks dominant out there, and the whole world is starting to know who Jonah Tong is.
Yeah, Jonah Tong, obviously one of the best pitching prospects in all of baseball. You and I know Jonah Tong quite well. We've interviewed him multiple times. We've been
the people don't know that.
Tong.
Nobody knows that we've interviewed him multiple times because somebody lost the audio of our 30-minute interview with him.
That's okay. But, shout out Jonah. So happy that he's getting the notoriety he deserves. And he is an absolute dominant pitcher. We know that he has modeled his game off Tim Lincecum, a guy he grew up emulating, idolizing. And the strikeout numbers are congruent with what Tim Lincecum did during the major leagues, or during his very, very great career in the major leagues. Jonah Tong trying to become a major leaguer with Binghamton right now. We'll see where the season winds up for Jonah Tong, but for him to get to the futures game, be a part of it, represent the Mets like Brandon Sproat did last year, a huge, huge benefit and honor for Jonah Tong. But it's all because of the great dominance, brilliance, I should say, that Jonah Tong has displayed. And he is a very, very huge part, big part of the Mets' future. Love to see it. Congratulations, Jonah.
And before we get out of there, I do want to remind people, we brought this up in the last episode. We're asking you guys to help the Mets strike out food insecurity across New York. The Amazing Mets Foundation's annual summer food drive, presented by 1.5, benefiting the food bank for New York City, is on Friday, August 1st and Saturday, August 2nd. Collection points will be set up outside of the Jackie Robinson Rotunda. So please, please be a part of this. Help donate food. Help support New York. It's as easy as bringing this stuff to a Mets game. Friday, August 1st, Saturday, August 2nd. So guys, do what you can. Jackie Robinson Rotunda. But the Amazing Mets Foundation is always doing great things, and it's an important thing to do.
Yeah, it is. This is a community. This is all about family. We have fun. We root for the Mets. Vito and I, we have a good time together. We're great buds. But this is more so than that. The Mets love to give back, like Vito mentioned. The Amazing Mets Foundation is a very, very big part of the organization. So if you can, please do your part to the best you can. It's going to be a big weekend, August 1st, August 2nd, Giants in town, like Vito mentioned. So it's very, very important. And we can't wait to see you there at Citi Field.
All right, guys. So we're going to head out now, but we're not leaving you empty-handed, because right now we're going to play for you an interview we did with Sean Manaea over at spring training. Like I said, even though this was done at spring training, you should stick around, listen to it, because it's still evergreen. It's still listenable. There's still value in this interview. It was a really fun time with Sean, who was just back with the team and was excited to be back with the team. It was the team he wanted to come back to. So it's a really fun interview, John, right?
It is. And before we go, Vito, I need to remind everybody, because I don't think we did this during the interview, that everyone's got to go out and check out their local PC Richard & Son store, because they have the absolute friendliest, most knowledgeable sales staff. Whatever it is you're looking for, they've got the absolute best prices. Guarantee they'll match anything, whether it's TVs, appliances, computers, sound systems, video games. It doesn't matter. They've got it, and they've been doing it for as long as anybody else in the game since 1909. So check out your local PC Richard & Son store, because you'll be happy you did.
I hope you did your Prime Day shopping with PC Richard & Son. I hope you got some nice stuff at PC Richard & Son. It's been hot as hell in New York City for the last few weeks. I hope you got yourself an AC from there. They will literally put the cables on it before they send it to you. They want you to be nice and cool in your home. So thank you guys for listening. Enjoy this interview with Sean Manaea. And please, after you listen to that interview with Sean Manaea, or maybe while you're listening to it, go to Apple, go to Spotify, give us that 5-star review, leave a nice rating. It really goes a long way for us. And enjoy this interview with Sean Manaea. See you guys.
Hey, welcome to Meet at the Apple. I'm Vito Calisi. That's Jonathan Barron, and we're here with Sean Manaea. Sean, I got to tell you, dude, when I saw that you signed back with the Mets, I went nuts. I was so happy, and I just go back to that post game you did, where you were tearing up and you were talking about how there was no group of guys you'd rather do it with, and can we just talk about that moment and kind of the path from when you said that to when you finally signed back with the team?
Yeah, that was, devastating. He had this magical run, and then, ultimately end up losing to the World Series champs. Hats off to them. They, incredible run for them. But, it was such a rewarding and wonderful season for, I think, everyone, that was there for the whole year. Just to, from the lows to the highs and everything in between. It was just such a fun run, and everyone was just so cool about it, and it was unreal thing. But then to get to signing back was, I don't know, wasn't crazy. I feel like it kind of the universe works in mysterious ways, and I feel like it was meant to be back here.
No, that news broke overnight, New York time. People woke up to the news that you were back for 3 years, which we're all excited for. And there were a lot of fingers up emojis.
Yes.
And that's kind of become a thing with Sean Manaea. So when is the first time that you had heard about the Sean Manaea, Roman Reigns, put your ones up for the tribal chief situation?
I mean, it had been last year. Definitely wasn't in San Diego or San Francisco. So actually, no. Yeah, I'd probably say last year.
Are you all in on it? Because I've seen some people now that are I know you're a Motown guy.
Yeah.
And we love the Motown when you're warming up, but I've seen some people say, Joe DeMeo, one of them, Sean needs to have the Roman Reigns intro song as his warm up. Are you there?
I know my nephews, shout out Logan and Noah, wherever you're at. They would be super ecstatic because we'll play video games sometimes and they constantly ask.
So here's the thing. You could, like, for one game or two games, change it. I know, like,
There's a WWE night coming up. That's the perfect.
There is. Get on the bump. Mendy's got to manipulate the rotation to get you on the bump for that. Imagine the whole rotation thrown into flux so Sean could be on the mound for WWE night.
You know, I haven't changed it in, this will be 4 years now.
Just the two of us.
Yeah, just the two of us. I mean, it's been with me for a while through the ups and downs, but you know, I wouldn't be against switching up every once in a while. So.
Do you enjoy the Roman Reigns stuff? It's fun, right? Like when you signed,
you threw a one. I saw you throw a one up to a fan a couple days ago.
I do. The only hesitancy I have is that it's not my thing and it's clearly his thing, you know? So that's the only thing that's like kind of stopping me.
Let's talk about game 3 against the Phillies.
Okay.
A huge night. You pitch into the 8th inning and a very emotional night for you. Talk about just the entire experience. I know you did the great sit down with, I think it was Ken Rosenthal, going into the NLCS, but we know how much that game meant to you. Talk about that experience, being on the bump and having the night you did.
Yeah, I mean, it was, it was very emotional there for a little while. And, you know, we found out the news about I'm able that day. My wife was, she kind of didn't really want to say anything, or she, kind of had some hesitancy, but, she ultimately ended up telling me. And then, so I kind of just sat with that for the rest of the day. And it was like, wow, I didn't really know how to process this or anything like that. And I was like, well, I got to pitch against the Phillies tonight. And, everything, transpired. It was great. I don't know. It was, like I said, world works in mysterious ways, and that was just one of those things. And I'm just really glad I was able to honor her that night, with a great game. And that was a crazy day for sure.
And I know that you've thrown a no-hitter, but would you say that was the biggest start of your career?
Yeah, 100%. Just the history. Even earlier in the year, like faced the Phillies, I had faced them like a month prior, but then like the London game, got my butt kicked by them. So and then, the NLCS a couple years ago before that, it was like, I kind of had my number. So just on a personal level, like from that, and then obviously first game in Citi Field and however long in the playoffs. So, or not the first game, but
first playoff game since I think 2016 at Citi Field.
Yeah. I mean, it was a lot. It was crazy, but it was, big moment, and it was cool.
So you signed a deal with the Mets this offseason, but you also signed a lifetime contract, right? That's what we call marriage. So that wedding, we saw on Instagram, a bunch of the guys were there. Francisco Lindor's daughter was the flower girl. Pete was there. Frankie Montas was there, and he had just signed with the team. So is that like is that like one of the most unique ways somebody has been able to meet their new teammates?
I would say, yeah. I mean, baseball world's pretty small anyway. So, I mean, I'm sure a lot of guys have known each other, over the years. But, I mean, I guess there's no better way than to celebrate a marriage than, hanging out with some other guys.
And then in the offseason, you actually trained with a few of the guys. I think Stanek said it was you, Bader, it was Pete. And I asked Stanek this, so I'm going to ask you, how much talk was there at those training sessions of guys, we should really run this back?
I think everyone knew the mission and the goal, but I kind of with Pete, I just let him do his thing. It was off-season Sean, off-season Pete, so I was just kind of letting him do his thing, and world works in mysterious ways, so I knew something was bound to happen, and I'm glad we were able to figure everything out.
Now, when you did re-sign, you were reintroduced to the fans. You had a virtual press conference, and the internet was buzzing and wondering because I think you took the press conference from your car. Yes. And there was a lot of discussion and wondering, where was Sean going when he was in his car? So can you give the background on that?
You didn't even turn the camera.
But
You kept it in portrait mode.
I should have.
The shot looks fine. Don't listen to this guy. He's upset he wasn't at the wedding.
I got to work on that. No, I was, I was working out in the morning, and then I had like a PT meeting in the afternoon, and then, I thought, I was going to be done in time, and then pretty much went till 3 o'clock, and I was like, oh my gosh, I got to go. So then, I was like basically just in the parking lot of.
So Sean's a normal guy. Like, we've all been there where we have a Zoom meeting and we think we have enough time to get back and get in front of our laptops.
I feel like, that wasn't the first time I've had a
press conference?
a press conference. Well, not a press conference, but like an interview.
Got it.
That's probably like the 4th or 5th one. I feel like it's my comfort zone, I wasn't driving, by the way.
No, you were clearly pulled over, and we appreciate that. Everyone's safety is key. I guess we all just need to build in a 15-minute buffer before we for these things we know
I
about.
just got to work on my time management skills, which I do for sure.
That's why the pitch clock's in the game now.
Yeah.
So we spoke to Frankie Montas at Amazing Day, and just seeing you guys get back together and be teammates. How special is it for you to have one of your closest friends in baseball be playing with you here in New York?
It's the best. I love Frankie. We've kind of grew up together in Oakland, been through a lot together, and what we had in Oakland was, like that group that we had was a lot of fun. We did some really cool things, and to be able to run it back in New York, such an incredible opportunity, and I know what he can bring to the table, and I think with anything with like friendships and baseball, you kind of like push each other, and that's from what I remember, that's everything we did, and just hoping for more of the same.
Frankie Montas said he's a great cook.
Yes.
I heard you say he's taught you how to cook a few things.
He's like cooked me some fish. I think
What kind of fish?
I think just whatever's available, honestly.
Okay.
That's like
some salmon, some halibut.
Yeah, salmon's pretty basic, but he's like, he's got the Dominican flair, I don't know. He's a good cook.
You ever go to Dave & Buster's with him? We heard he loves Dave & Buster's.
Have I? I think maybe in Anaheim.
He announced to everybody he's there on Wednesdays. So
we should all go.
We should just pop in and see if he's there.
This is the move. So Vito, we went for the Super Bowl, and we played a little Hungry Hippos, and we had an empty seat. And we talked to Frankie about going to Dave & Buster's, and I was like, well, if it's just the three of us, we're going to have an empty seat for the Hungry Hippos. Would you like to be our fourth?
I haven't played adult Hungry Hippos, but
oh, dude,
that
it's
sounds
electric.
like
it's electric.
I loved it as a kid.
Vito's really good.
You riding it?
Vito's really good. Yes.
I'm not going to do that again. That was crazy.
I would stop that motion. Let's get this back on track.
That was wild. Why did I do that,
We're
Sean?
going to pretend that didn't happen. You got the hat backwards right now. The rally cap was a big part of 2024.
Yeah.
You had it on in the 9th inning in Milwaukee. Game 3, it worked. Is the rally cap coming back in 2025?
Yeah, the thing with the rally cap is like you can't, you got to feel it. You got to really like feel it inside, and in those moments, I feel like it was warranted. Like I feel like if you're just doing it to do it, it doesn't work.
Can't do it in vain.
But like when you feel it, then it's like that's when the magic happens.
Is the pitcher celebration any type of way of a pitcher's celebration? Is that coming back?
The hug and
the hug and the embrace and the celebration.
The jumping up and down.
I think with every year, you just got to kind of find what works, and maybe so.
Wearing the numbers on the face.
Maybe.
Do you remember the idea I told you last year? You said you liked it, but it was towards the end of the year. I said the way you wear a starter pitcher's numbers, I think when the starter comes off, he should wear whoever replaces him, whatever reliever comes in after him.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. So it's not just the starters, it's everyone.
Everybody.
But then you got a lot of face writing. By the end of the night, you're totally covered. Let's talk about number 57 real quick. The social media team had you write your favorite player when you walked in, like a first day of school type thing, and you put down Johan Santana, a great Mets lefty. What are some of your favorite Johan moments?
Obviously the no-hitters up there.
Sick night.
Yeah, I mean, just warrior kind of stuff, right? It was like
134 pitches. Yeah. Something you don't see these days.
No. Yeah, that's some incredible stuff. Twins days, I feel like I remember watching his 17 strikeout game live for some reason. Or maybe it was just it was all over SportsCenter or something like that. But I think that was like, you know, one of the first times where I was like, who is this guy? And then like I remember in like not elementary school, but like high school, junior high, I would, you know, I'd have his poster kind of like in my locker. So, you know, just pretty much get inspired every time I like saw that. Yeah, I mean, for me, it was just like he was a lefty, had a really good changeup, and I was like, I want to be everything that this guy is. And yeah, I mean, I would watch endless YouTube videos and all these different things just to try and emulate him. And yeah, he was always been my guy. So.
Well, Sean, we always love catching up with you, man. Looking forward to another great year. Thank you guys for listening to Meet at the Apple. I'm Vito Calisi. That's Jonathan Barron. That's Sean Manaea. See you next time at the Apple.